It's First Pitch. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined today by Bryan Leonard. I'm sitting in for the Prez today. Bryan, how's it going today, my friend? I'll be seeing you later tonight, heading down to Fremont Street, Golden Nugget.
Yeah, going to a concert tonight. To tell you we're old, we're going to see The Sweet, a band that was popular when I was a little kid. And my favorite band then, and I followed them all these years. There's actually, I don't want to get too into it, but they got an American suite and they've got a British suite. And actually, this is the British suite playing because there's two of the guys that are original players in the band. So it'll be interesting. I saw the American suite before and they were very good.
Okay, wait a minute. We're going to see a band? What the fuck? I thought we were going for suites tonight. You misled me here. Son of a bitch. God damn it.
You know, when I said that I would pay, you got so excited that now I know why.
Jesus. All right. Okay. Well, you better find me some suites down on Fremont Street.
There's some suites down there. Just walk down just walk under the tent there.
All right. Well, let's get into baseball, Bryan. There's no, we haven't hid the fact that you and I have had some good runs in baseball over the last few years. So we're putting the two heavyweights together today on this show. And
more than one way.
Yeah, more than one way. And one of the heavyweights wants sweet. So go figure that out. But we're going to give a coupon here today. Actually got two of them. For our listeners, I want them to be able to jump on board with us. And guys, I really, strive, we advertise, our daily plays and everything. But the best way to utilize any handicapper, they feel confident and comfortable with. And that's the key, Bryan. If you don't like the style of a handicapper, don't buy him. You know what? Because we don't want you to do something that you're not comfortable with. If if you want to play a lot of games, don't buy me. I'm going to tell you that straightforward. I'm a guy that's going to have 1 to 3 plays a day. You're pretty much like that. If you want to buy, if you don't like a lot of plays, well, then you're going to want to look to somebody that has less plays. You've got to be in your comfort zone. If you're doing stuff that you're not comfortable with, it's not going to make your experience enjoyable and sometimes profitable, because sometimes you start picking and choosing and not following the guy the whole way through. And that's why we strive, I do at least, buying somebody for a longer term package. You're going to get everything they have. You get a good taste of what they're about, and you don't miss any of the streaks. I know we've been in this business, the two of us combined, over 60 years in the business, probably pushing 70. Yeah. But this is this thing, you hear guys all the time. They sign up with somebody because they see they're on a 10-2 run. And then that guy goes 3-3 the next 6 games, and they're upset about it, and you got to be there for the whole thing. And I know you've had success. Every year you keep adding more things to your arsenal with baseball, and kudos to you. You never stop learning in this business.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, and I talked about this the other day, just between us having lunch, that I'm more confident today on my ability than I was 2 years ago, and that's because we're older guys. I'm 57. I believe you're the same age. I've spent a lot of time with younger guys who are much smarter than I am, that do a lot of modeling, and not male modeling, but
I was going to say,
nobody that we know is doing anything like that.
If you're emulating them on that, we're shutting this thing down right now.
Yeah, really. But guys that are doing something different, and I'm learning from them, and I'm incorporating that. And like you said, we've been doing this for close to 70 years now, and you've got to move with the changes. And there's certain guys out there that were really big when we were younger, and they have not moved with the changes, so they're either out of the business or they're not having the success they had before. So, hey, if we can learn at our age after doing this for as long as we have, you young people can do the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, let's get those coupon codes out of the way, and we'll start talking some baseball. If you want to get a 7-day package from either Bryan or myself, a 7-day package is $119. We're going to give it to you for $79. Now, if you want to get Bryan, use coupon code BL, that's for Bryan Leonard, BL79. That's all you got to do. Go to checkout, put the 7-day package in your shopping cart, and enter that coupon code. hit the button to add it, and it will take $40 off. You get it for $79. If you'd like to have me for 7 days, use coupon code POD79. POD79. If that sounds familiar, I gave that out last night on our podcast. And if you haven't listened to that podcast yet, shame on you. You can still go to the site and check it out. We got a lot of information for Friday and Saturday's NBA games, the playoff action, and then we also broke down some baseball as well. Ralph and I did in our Handicappers Corner. Bryan, let's head into today. Some interesting games, I think, here on the card. And if you hear a dog barking, that's the key to baseball. I train all my dogs to bark loud. I follow a lot of baseball underdogs, as you know, Bryan, as you do too. And right now, our new puppy's downstairs. He hears me talking, but he can't see me, and he's just barking up a storm. I don't know if you can hear
He's so lucky he can't see you. So that's
thanks, buddy. Okay. Nice guy. Hey, you look at a game tonight. I'm wearing the Pirates. I got the Clemente shirt on, by the way. A gift from my good friend there, Brian, and I love this shirt. I wear this shirt probably more than any other Pirate memorabilia. Second to my Stargell. Stargell's second to Clemente. Clemente's one, Stargell second. Love that. I got the baseball cap, but I got to make this outfit complete. I haven't been able to find the old school Pirate hats. I got to get with the stripe around them.
Get on the internet; they're all over the place.
I've looked at them in some of the stores, and I just was too lazy to order it online. I even looked when I was back in Pittsburgh at the store at the airport, and they didn't have it. But nonetheless, tonight in Pittsburgh, the Pirates return home from a road trip. Now, Bryan, you know me, long road trips, team coming back home that first game. I generally like to go against those teams. But this is a spot where the Pirates, they're playing well right now. Then they are, I have to say, you got to put them in the category of one of the surprises of the baseball season so far. Nobody expected the Pirates to be doing what they're doing, and they've really succeeded in extra inning games. I think they're 4-2 in extra inning games, winning 4 in a row. Got a couple back-to-back extra inning games in Detroit. They return home, and Jordan Lyles. Explain to me how he's pitching this way so far. Is he going to come back? Is he pitching, just way over his head? Because I didn't see this coming from him when the Pirates got him.
Yeah, he's had this reputation where every once in a while he'll come out and really pitch a good game, but consistency's been his problem in his entire career. Started off in Houston and is gone to a few other teams, but he's pitching pretty well. What I grade him at is 1% better than a league average pitcher. So he's basically league average, and he's got the Pittsburgh pitching coach there. So we've seen the things that have gone on in Pittsburgh for some of these guys that have had the talent that didn't have the consistency before. So, he may be able to sustain this for most of the season, which is a big plus because I believe they signed him for a really cheap contract.
Yeah, it was a cheap contract. And you look at the 2 starts that he's had. First one he had against Cincinnati. Only went 5 innings, but only gave up 3 hits. He didn't like the walk to strikeout ratio. He had 3 walks in that game, only 2 strikeouts, but he only gave up 3 hits, 5 innings, a shutout ball. Can't ask for any more than that. And then in his second outing against the Cubs in Wrigley, this was the outlier game for me with him. He went a strong 6 innings, again only gave up 3 hits, 1 run. It was a solo home run, but he struck out 10 in that one. And the big jump with the strikeout, and I know everybody likes the advanced metrics, and I get all of that, Bryan. We look at this stuff. But for me, one stat is old school as it is, and it's strikeouts. And when you got the strikeouts working, you're fooling the hitters. You've got command and confidence in your pitches, and you're delivering them at the right time, whether it's you or the catcher calling the right shots. You're faking out the hitters that you're getting the strikeouts. And he jumped from just 2 strikeouts to 10 in his last outing. That is a big indicator this guy's got good stuff right now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, one of the things you want to look at now, and it's been strikeouts for the last few years because some people are so prone to going for the fences. It's really important now with the juice ball, and I don't know what MLB is saying about it, but it's been proven that the ball is juiced. When your hitters in the National League are hitting about 200 as a team, I believe it's 195. That tells you that they're getting a little bit lucky there, and they're even hitting home runs. I believe they hit 9 home runs in the first couple of weeks of the season, or first few weeks. So the ball's flying out. So if you've got a guy that's not going to let you hit the ball, that's a big advantage, especially if the guy doesn't allow many walks. That's something that's real important. But for the most part, everybody's looking to play that, and you've got to find other ways to get around it by playing guys who pitch to weak contact. If you hit the ball 95 miles an hour off the bat, your batting average is basically like in the 560s. And nobody's going to beat somebody if they got a batting average in the 560s because they're hitting the ball so hard. And the harder you hit it, obviously, the defense doesn't have time to react. You're going to be on base a lot. So where we need to find the value is these guys that are really good at getting batters off balance. And they may not strike out a lot of batters, but that's the thing right now. If you could find guys like that, I think that's something that hasn't been in the betting market that long, and I think there's going to be value on those kind of pitchers.
Now, going to the other side of the mound, we've got Madison Bumgarner on the hill for the Giants. Now, we know this is a big-name pitcher. We know what he's done in his career. We're getting to the other side of that career now, but his last outing, he pitched his best game of the year. Went 7 innings against Colorado. Team that, a lot of people thought were going to do more this year, off to a slow start, but now they're finally putting some wins together. He did go 7 strong innings, gave up just 2 runs, but the key with him, and again, going to those strikeouts, 0 walks, he had 7 Ks. That was a season high on strikeouts. The 2 previous games, he only had 3 and 4. Now, that's an indicator that, hey, Bumgarner's back. We're going to look at him. But I've got a stat for you, Brian, I'm going to throw at you with Madison Bumgarner. And this is something that goes with the team as well, because the Giants have not been a good ball club the last 2 seasons. This goes back to last season, at the start of last season. But when Bumgarner pitches on the road, his team in his last 22 road starts are just 5-17. What do you make of a stat like that with Bumgarner?
Well, it's not just Bumgarner. Most teams don't play well on the road. In San Francisco, when you take a look at their dimensions of the ballpark and the way the wind blows out there, I would say they have one of the biggest home field advantages when it comes to that. It's a cold wind. It's a swirling wind. A lot of the other players don't like to play there, especially early in the year. That's a big advantage. But Bumgarner, keep in mind, that guy's been hurt the last few years. So he's not as healthy as he is right now. So I take it with a grain of salt, but you'll find, your lesser teams, and you talked about San Francisco has not been a good team the last few years. They play much better at home, especially if you've got a young team. I mean, we talked a little bit off here about Miami. I'd much rather play Miami at home than I would on the road because they're such a young ball club. But there's something to that, but I see a lot of other things that could be part of that reason. So I don't base the play on something like that.
All right. For me there, I got a small lean on the Pittsburgh Pirates generally, and you know that. Generally, I don't like a team coming home off the road trip, but I think they're going to be pumped up a Friday night and getting a big name, even though, as we said, it's a big name from past days, but it's still the big name on the Giants. They'll be pumped up for Bumgarner. I got to ask you, Brian, and you and I, we're sitting in front of the computer all day. If we're not in front of the computer, we're on our phones or laptops, wherever we're at, our iPads and such, and we're watching the market constantly. Please tell me who in God's name keeps betting the Miami Marlins that we keep seeing daily line drops on the Marlins that make absolutely no sense. This is one of the worst teams in baseball. They got 0 fan support down there. Ralph and I happened to be in Florida for the Florida Derby. We were there over opening weekend. Opening day they had a good crowd because it's opening day. The second night we're in the bar watching basketball, and they had the baseball game up because it was the Marlins. It's day 2 of the season, Brian, and you're showing the shot from behind the pitcher and into home plate. There's empty seats behind home plate on the second day of the season. I mean, and it was early in the game. It wasn't like it was late in the game and it was a rout. It was a one-run game till late. How do people keep betting this team? They're the second worst team as far as earnings so far this year. Only the Boston Red Sox are worse because they've had that just, horrific start and they've been big favorites. What do you make of it?
I'll be honest with you. I've been on Miami, and unfortunately, my clients have not prospered on that. And I'm going to lay off of them a little bit, but my numbers, for the most part, say to play Miami. Now, they don't today, so that won't be the case today. But when you take a look at the advanced stats, they're one of the league leaders in hitting the ball hard, which is a good way to show that the luck has not been there for Miami. This is a team who's got young guys who can hit the ball hard. They've been hitting them right at people, and people are playing off of that. So the advanced stats guys are the ones that are playing Miami. I've actually got a bet on this game, and if you don't mind, I'll talk about it a little bit.
Go ahead.
I didn't give this to my clients. I bet a whole lot more games than what I give to my clients. Like you, I like to limit them to 1 to 3 or whatever, five at the most in a given day. But I played Washington on the first half line here, and I laid 115 on that. I made it 132. The reason I like it is, I love Caleb Smith, the pitcher for Miami. This is a guy, you talk strikeouts. This is a guy that's throwing major strikeouts in his games. He was injured last year. He came back. I actually have him on my fantasy team, so I follow him very well. But he's going against Anibal Sanchez, who found a new pitch last year, and people just remember the Anibal Sanchez from Detroit. So they're not wanting to play Anibal Sanchez, but Anibal Sanchez right now, I've got him rated as a starting pitcher, 12% better than Caleb Smith, and I like Caleb Smith. So Sanchez is one of those guys, as I pointed out, that gets you to hit the ball when you're not comfortable, a little off kilter, you're off balance when you hit the ball, so the ball doesn't come as hard off the bat. And I prefer the Miami bullpen here. I've got them rated 5% better than the Washington bullpen. And we've seen this the last couple of years where Washington, the starters are great, and the bullpen struggles for them. But I think there's some advantage here on Washington in the first 5. I laid the 115. My full game line was minus 122. First 5 was minus 132. So we're getting a bigger advantage by playing them in the first 5 innings of this contest.
Yeah, and as I talked about the line move in this game, Washington opened up overnight at minus 140. Then the Westgate opened it up at minus 132. We're looking at this morning here across town. I'm seeing it as low as minus 110 now in different shops on the Strip. And that just goes to, Brian, you hit the nail on the head about the metrics and the advanced guys. The advanced guys liking Miami, and going back to the last several years, Anibal Sanchez has been a guy that the advanced metrics guys don't like. He has always been a guy that they've faded. So now you've got that combination of both, and we're seeing that big move on a team that can't get out of their own way right now in the Miami Marlins. So I think you have a good play there on the first 5 innings with them. Another game today, Brian, talked to you about with a big money move overnight. The Yankees. Now, we know the Yankees have been just decimated with injuries to start the season this year. And even with all the injuries they have, this is a team that still has some firepower. Just imagine when they get all of those guys back, into the lineup and they're healthy, and then you get to that bullpen in the late innings. But right now, it's not been, a solid start to the season. And when you're laying on a nightly basis close to 200 with the Yankees or more, you're going to take a loss. And they add up quick, laying the big numbers. This game opened up with CC Sabathia. And I've always had a fond, spot for him, Bartolo Colon. Anybody that plays sports. Yeah, it looks like both of us there, buddy. Come on. I'm going to root for that guy. But here you got CC on the mound. Yankees opened up 225 offshore. Westgate opened it up here in town at 205. We're down to as low as I'm seeing 168, 167 around. Where's the money coming in here? Is this just the anti-fade of the Yankees right now? Because Kansas City is not a team that a lot of people like. Now, they do have Junis on the mound today, and I think that talent-wise, he's their best pitcher. I don't know your feelings, but of that roster, I put him at the top of it.
Yeah, I rate Junis 15% better than Sabathia. Sabathia came out. He missed a lot of time early in the season. Had some health problems. He's already said this is going to be his last season. He came back in his first game back, and he looked terrific. So a lot of people are going to base it on that the CC is back. But CC's been one of those pitchers the last 5 years where you never know when you can trust him. Very inconsistent. Actually had a pretty good season last year. Jake Junis, you're right. He's the ace of this ball club, but he's pitched much better at home than he has on the road. He's one of those guys that gives up some fly balls. And as we talked about, fly balls are turning into home runs more and more. But, I understand the line move here. You talked about the Yankees' bats. Kansas City is 10% below league average. Against right-handers at home, the Yankees are only 1% above right now with the lineup they're throwing out there right now. So they've got guys that continue to bring up from the minor leagues, career AAA hitters, 4A hitters. Now, they still got 4 or 5 guys in the lineup that are probably better than anybody Kansas City's got. But still, the offenses are not nearly as different than they would be in the regular season when everybody's back, where the Yankees are probably 20% better than league average. So I understand the line move. I agree with the line move. I prefer Junis here. But as I said, he has struggled on the road compared to home.
I will say one thing here, and this is something you and I have had discussions about before, usually over a plate of chicken wings, but we're talking about different things that we look at in our handicapping. And one of the things, we don't disagree a lot, but I know you feel differently on this one. I like a pitcher that first game back when he did have an injury. He's going to be on a pitch count, okay? So maybe, you want to incorporate first 5 or whatever in there. But he is going to be so focused and mentally prepared for that start because all he's been doing is working to get back to the bigs, get into that lineup. And as you said, he didn't start the season off opening day, had some, injury issues, got back, and what did he do? He come out that first start, 5 innings, no runs. Now, this is the second start, and it's a two-parter for me. It's kind of a little bit of the play reverse of the, injured player theory, because here we are betting the injured player. This is the guy that made the first start back and had the good outing. So I like to look at, maybe first 5 innings, look at maybe an under if his team's not hitting at the time, because I expect a good outing from him. But then after he has that first game back to the majors, gets off the injury list, and he had that good outing, now it's a little bit of, okay, I'm back, everything's okay, and he doesn't have the same intensity in the second start. I look for those guys to have a little bit of a regression in the second start, and that would be the case tonight with CC on the mound. So I agree with you, and I agree with the market. I think Kansas City is the side here in this one. Brian, I want to talk a little bit about the Boston Red Sox. World champs last year, had just a dream season. Start to finish, this team was good. I think they had one little slump at one point during the season, which every baseball team is going to have that. This team cannot get out of their own way right now. Is it the World Series hangover? Are there, real issues here? Chris Sale has been horrible so far. Are we going to find in a week or two that they're going to say, hey, Chris Sale's got some injury problems, we're putting him on the DL? Big problems with him. And they're facing the red-hot Tampa Bay Rays, and they are the new wave Rays. They did it last year, starting the pitcher by committee, doing the starter deal. Get a guy to pitch the first inning, maybe 2 innings, and then you flip the lineup. And everybody, they're having success with it. But I got to ask you, are they going to the well too much with it? Because tonight they're going to be doing it for the 3rd straight game. And I got to ask you, is that an advantage or disadvantage? How do you view that?
Yeah, it's definitely a disadvantage because you have to take a look at the bullpen and see who pitch. Actually, Jason Beeks was supposed to start today. A couple days ago, they had to bring him in because of the poor pitching performance from the starter, and he had to throw 66 innings. So
66 pitches. 66 innings would have been – his arm would have fell off.
Sorry about that. But, yeah, you've got to go back and look. And, the closers pitched 2 out of the last 3 days, although 3 days ago he only threw 8 pitches for Alvarado. But, this is a team right now in Boston. Luckily, my numbers have kept me off of playing them this year. I think I might have played them once all season. So I've been pretty good on that. So I haven't been burned. Roughly, very, very few times do I see value on the big name teams, the Yankees, the Red Sox, that kind of thing. So they've basically got the same players. You talked about Sale. Sale is a concern because obviously his pitches, his velocity on his fastball has gone down. It's gone down the last couple of years. But they didn't pitch him much in the preseason because usually it gets to the end of the season and he runs out of gas. And they said, what we'll do is use our entire pitching staff and we'll make it so at the end of the season that they will be ready to pitch. So it's backfiring on them. As right now, as you pointed out, they've really struggled pitching-wise. Don't know if they've got the closer they want. They've gone with a couple of different guys. Obviously, when you lose one of the best closers in Major League Baseball in history, you're going to have some problems. So Boston is a team that the hitting is going to come around. They just have struggled right now. The pitching, I do have concerns about the pitching.
And I look at this one, and you've got Rodriguez on the mound tonight for Boston. And as we talked about, the strikeout is an indicator. His first 2 outings were horrendous. Didn't get to the 5th inning. Or out of the 5th inning in his first start. Didn't get out of the 4th inning in his second start. Last time out, now we'll put the asterisk up. It was against Baltimore, okay? So there's an outlier there. Baltimore's not one of the better teams. Probably one of the 3 worst teams in baseball.
Who beat Tampa yesterday?
It was Baltimore, the big number.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. A broken clock's right twice a day, too. Hey, but you look, and he struck out 8 in 6 2/3 innings of work, gave up just 2 runs, no walks, so he had total command of his pitches in that outing. To me, even though it was Baltimore, that's a buy sign for me with Rodriguez. And, I don't know if I want to take a team that's playing as bad as Boston is right now, but I think the market is starting to overreact a little bit to the Tampa success and the Boston slow start. And with them doing the starters 3 games in a row, I'm curious to see how this plays out tonight because I don't like it. I think you're going to the well too much with Tampa, and it's going to end up, you can burn a bullpen, doing this. I lean to Boston in this one. I haven't decided if I'm going to pull the trigger and actually get it to my clients today or not. But right now, I am looking at the Boston side.
Well, you talked about Rodriguez, and you talked about his last start. And to me, the last 3 starts, unless there's injuries, they're irrelevant. I would rather have the long-term numbers going on the guy, and he's going to regress one way or the other. But he's a much better pitcher than he's pitched so far this season. I don't want to stand in front of Tampa here because at this point, Tampa is the better team, and you're getting them at a pretty decent price pitching or playing at home. But you do have those concerns about the bullpen. If they have to go to the bullpen early today, I think they'll stretch out the starter a little bit more than they normally do. But if they have to go to the bullpen today, this will be, yesterday, like I pointed out, they lose 11-10, I believe, or something in that range, 10-9 maybe, in extra innings, late innings with Baltimore. That bullpen's a little taxed right now.
It
so
is.
So they need to get some innings out of the starter today. If he doesn't, that may be a sign to play against Tampa the rest of the season. The rest of the series, excuse me.
I want to touch on something you said there, Brian, because we're always talking about value and how to find it when there's overlays and underlays. And you said that you don't like to look at so much just those last 3 starts. You want a better body of work to look at it. But what I'm going to disagree with you on is that if you do that And yes, I understand you're going to get a truer number on the pitcher, but the market's also going to have a truer number on the pitcher looking at the whole enchilada, so to speak. I look at starting pitchers, and you know I have a horse background, and I make a lot of references to horse things in handicapping. And I know you make a lot of references to me with horses about being a horse's ass, but that's a whole different story. But when I handicap a horse race, you're looking at past performance lines. You're looking at the charted line of that horse. And what the object is to try to find the value. Because everybody can read a racing form and see a horse that's won 3 races in a row, and then you look up at the tote board, and that horse is 4-5. Okay, there's no value there. I want to find the value where a horse is improving, is on the rise, that you're going to get that price of maybe 5-1, 6-1 when you're betting the horse because the market hasn't caught on to him yet. And that's what I do with the pitchers. If I see a guy that had been struggling, like we talked with Rodriguez, he had 2 bad starts. Now he's got a good start, and it was a solid start. To me, that's an indicator that just like a horse, he's coming into form, especially with those strikeouts. And on the flip side, if I have a guy that religiously has a strikeout per inning, okay, so you look at his last 3-4 starts, he's got 6, 7, 8 strikeouts a game. And then all of a sudden, he's only got 2 strikeouts in 2 back-to-back starts. That tells me that horse or pitcher is going out of form. And that's where you can find the value because the season-long numbers say, hey, this guy is up here, but in his last few, he's going this way. The numbers are coming down, so I can get the value. That's my difference on why, I look at it. And we say the saying, there's many ways to skin a cat. No guy's way is right or wrong, and I embrace everybody, but everybody has their own things. And that's why I get frustrated with some of the straight numbers guys that think they're the end-all to be-all, and they just don't want to hear anything else from anybody else, that there's any other way to handicap. You have to keep an open mind. But I just wanted to elaborate on that little point there. I'll give you a chance to rebuttal.
Well, the rebuttal is, number one, I didn't know we were going to get into a horse racing discussion on this. Hopefully, we don't have to hear anything about poker, or I'm going to leave it myself. I'll hang up myself. But all I could say is I do a lot of reading, and the last 3 starts that they always put in the newspaper are irrelevant. It's been back tested. It means nothing. What I will say is your point about the strikeouts being down, that kind of thing, that may tell you that there's a problem with the pitcher being hurt. And you talked about, I don't know if we talked this off air or on air, about Sale with maybe being put on the DL saying something's hurt. Well, I don't believe that sometimes it's that way that they're hurt. They just need to figure out what's going on. Nick Pivetta was just sent down to the minors for Philadelphia because he's gotten off to a slow start. I don't think he deserves to go down the minors, but they're going to go down there and check out everything he does, and they got enough pitching where they can do that. I don't know if they'll do that with Sale, being that he's the ace of that staff, but it does tell you if you don't get a lot of swinging strikes, you don't have good control, or you're not striking people out, that there's something different that wasn't there before. It's a new variable you're putting into the system. So I do give you credence for that. But as for just generally looking at the last 3 starts, ignore it.
All right, we'll agree to disagree.
All right.
As I said, both of us have had great success in baseball, and we do things differently, and that's the way it goes.
Don't have the same plays every day.
Yeah, and a lot of times you know what I'm going to have before I have them, because you know my tendencies.
I know your tendencies. That's correct.
Brian, we talked about the games I wanted to talk about. Any game on the card that you want to mention? You looked at, you saw something interesting today.
Yeah, let me take a look at what I didn't give to my clients that I've already bet. Let's take a look at the first 5 innings for the Detroit Tigers today with Zimmerman against Carlos Rodon. Rodon is one of those guys that came into his career highly touted, pitched pretty well in his early starts, and then kind of struggled. He's had some injury problems. but he's coming off a very good start, and he's rated. I've got Zimmerman rated 15% better than Rodon. I made the first five number at -144. I laid 110 on the Tigers here. You got the team playing at home against the White Sox. I happen to think these teams are equal. I give Detroit a 3% advantage in hitting. But the big advantage there to me is Zimmerman against Rodon. Keeps the bullpens out of it. Neither bullpen is very good. They're both 3% worse than league average. I'm just looking for a value standpoint there. And Zimmerman's one of those guys. He's a journeyman. He's been a guy that is, in the past at Washington, has looked really good, but the last few years he's struggled a little bit. And you get these guys that he's not a major strikeout pitcher, but he's a guy that keeps people off balance. And you talked about Lyles earlier. Zimmerman's one of those guys, I don't think it was this year, I believe it was last year, he flirted with a no-hitter. I mean, this is a guy, when he's on, he is very good. And when he's off, he's bad, just like most of these fringe pitchers are. Once you get to the fourth and fifth pitchers on a lot of these teams, you're flipping a coin if they're going to have a good appearance or not. But I think Detroit playing at home, -110 to me was a bargain. A lot of people buying into Rodon being back. It was a one-game sample size. We'll wait and see what happens today.
All right. I will point out, though, you talk about Zimmerman. He can be very good or he could be very bad. In his last two starts, we saw the very bad Jordan Zimmerman didn't get out. He went 3 innings last time.
I may have mentioned earlier that the last 3 starts mean nothing.
Okay. Well, just pointing that out. And I may have mentioned that I did look at it. And,
okay, well, now we may have a lunch bet here.
Yeah, we may. Or at least a sweets bet for tonight. Who's buying the sweets? We'll see here. But, yes, I agree with you on Zimmerman that he is a guy that is, when he's dealing it good. But for the most part, he's a guy that I would say the advanced metrics guys don't like long-term with Zimmerman.
I will tell you, if you were to blindly play the Anibal Sanchez's, the Zimmermans, the guys that nobody seems to like, you're going to make money at the end of the season. That's just the way it is. Jason Vargas today for the Mets. You had mentioned one of your favorite pitchers that's not in the league right now. He's made money every time I tried to bet on him for years. The pitcher was he's been around the league everywhere. Started off with Cleveland. The fat guy.
Bartolo Colon.
Bartolo Colon. Yeah. Bartolo Colon has been so undervalued when he pitches. He's just a blind bet for me.
The fat guy.
And the fat guy. Well, he's probably skinnier than me, but he's still the fat guy.
But nobody has a head bigger than Bartolo Colon.
Maybe your buddy Glenn.
Well, yeah, Glenn and Bartolo Colon, but Glenn doesn't have the neck but Bartolo has. That's a steroid neck, buddy.
Betting those type of pitchers that nobody wants is where you get your value. But problem is nobody wants to bet them, and it would be a blind bet if you don't know anything about baseball. Well, if you didn't know anything about baseball, you wouldn't know the pitchers that people don't like. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a free play for the listeners to match your play there with the Tigers' first 5. I'm going to give not a first 5, but I'm going to go a full game, but I'm going to go on the run line. And I know when I say this one, you're going to give me one of your faces and roll your eyes, and you're not going to like the play. I guarantee it because the team's not playing well right now. But I like when a team's not playing well and they just had a bad homestand and they head out on the road. Best thing for a team is to get out of town. Quit listening to the beat writers writing what's wrong with you, what's happening, no hitting, no pitching, whatever. And I'm going to look at the Minnesota Twins tonight, and they've got a pitcher on the mound that I like a lot. I know you're high on this guy as far as talent-wise. You might not like him in tonight's situation, but I'm going to look at the Minnesota Twins, and I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs. I don't want to lay the big number with Minnesota, but I'll lay the 1.5 and take it for -125, 130, whatever you can pick it up at, as I'm going to get all 9 at-bats, Brian, in being the road team. And I like Berrios in this matchup over Cobb. I just think there's a huge edge in pitching there. And I think Minnesota, even though they're struggling right now, they're still hitting the baseball. I look at struggling teams, and if they're a struggling team and they've lost 4 or 5 in a row, but they're scoring 1 run, 2 runs, that's a concern. If the team's scoring 4, 5, 6 runs, they're just getting bad pitching and not getting it done. And I got a pitcher that I have a tremendous edge with. I'll go ahead and take the struggling team, and I'm going to go ahead and lay the 1.5 runs with Minnesota today against Baltimore. Baltimore returning home off an extra inning game as well.
A couple notes on that. I made the full game line 180 for Minnesota, 160 in the first 5. Our stat man, Cal Sports, Ralph Michaels called me yesterday because we had a little thing at the videos where we were talking about teams that have value or not. And he said the Baltimore Orioles are the biggest winner on the season if you're playing them on the road. Yesterday on the road, another big winner for Baltimore. But I believe he said they were 1-6 at home, and they're back home today. So based on that, obviously small sample size, but there's some agreement in that Minnesota play.
Yeah, and you are a master of the small sample size. Brian, good having you on board First Pitch today. That coupon code, you want to get Brian 7 days, dropping knowledge on you every day. Use BL79. You can pick up 7 days of Brian's plays, and you get analysis with each and every play. I tell my guys when they buy my plays in the analysis, it's like having a handicapping lesson each and every day when you get that analysis to know why a guy has the play. You want to pick me up, guys? Another winner last night.
Hurts back.
Pardon me?
They're going to hurt their back.
They're going to hurt their back? Yeah, they want to pick me up? Yeah, okay. Thanks, buddy. Last night we had the Seattle Mariners cruising 10-2. You're lucky they held on to win, Brian, because you would have had a bad beat story to open the show if they blow that game last night. They tried their best. Let me tell you, I was at Caesars watching the game, and I had to get up from the poker table to go watch the final 2 innings of that epic almost collapse.
And you watching that game is the reason why they won.
Yeah, that's it. I pulled it out. But you can pick me up, Pod 79. He's Bryan Leonard. I'm Marco D'Angelo. I'll have another pod up today. We will be doing the Morning Joe and the Pro. Ralph Michaels will be joining me. I'm sitting in today for the Prez. He's got the day off. He'll be back Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a nice holiday. I will see you, my man, tonight.
I want to make one last comment. The Mueller report came out yesterday. Is that why the Prez is no longer on the site?
Well, I think they were going after a different Prez.
Oh, is that right?
I think. But I don't talk.
Prez was going to be indicted and he left the country.
Yeah, I don't talk politics, and we let that go because everybody has an opinion,
That's right.
They like one side or the other, and I'm not pissing anybody off.
The Prez, though,
This is true. All right, Brian, good stuff. I will see you later tonight. And, guys, enjoy the games tonight, and let's cash some tickets.